Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today is podcast number 1495. The topic is nutrition, and the title is Common Client Struggles. So I thought this might be fun to hear kind of just what are the common things that people struggle with. Part of the benefit of hearing that is to know that you're not alone. Everybody does struggle in some way with nutrition. Maybe not everybody, but it's in like 99% of the population probably would like to eat better, and they struggle with that in some way. And then also I want to share just kind of what we focus on, what are our mindsets towards correcting those challenges and those struggles. Okay, so typically what I do with nutrition clients, this isn't always the case, but a good kind of general idea is we would start with what I explain in podcast number 1232. It's a nutrition podcast titled Start Here. You can find all of our podcasts on our website at www.brutalirongym.com. So in that podcast, I literally tell you the steps that I take to set up nutrition programs, so that way you can set your own up if you want to, or you just have an idea of what the process would be like if I were to take you through it. So typically the first thing we do is check hormones if a person has any concerns or conditions that indicate that maybe hormones are an issue. Once we have that accounted for, we get the blood work done, see that that's all good. We then look at calories, then protein, then distribution, kind of like meal timing. Then we look at the balance of carbs versus fats, and then we get into kind of specific foods, looking to reduce, sugar intake outside of workout times, maybe control sodium, control cholesterol, different aspects like that. But overwhelmingly, calories are by far the biggest effect on your nutrition. Even if you eat really healthy stuff, but you eat way more than you need, you will accrue body fat. And then you'll probably end up over-consuming, possibly cholesterol, over-consuming sodium. If you eat too much, even if it's healthy things, you're still going to have complications. Likewise, if you eat under your calories, but an appropriate deficit for fat loss, but you're eating like pizza and ice cream, you'll lose weight. You might not, feel the best during the day. Your digestive system might hate you. You might have huge, energy crashes. I'm not going to maximize your body composition, but would you lose weight? Yes. So calories are the most impactful, the most influential. So that's where we start our focus. Now, the common struggles people face with calories, number one is they're all over the place. Golly. So some days they eat like 1,200 calories, the next day's 3,200, the next day's 2,000, the next day's 4,800 because they went to a party, and then the next day they eat 500 because they felt bad that they overate at the party. So it's just everywhere. So the common theme of what we work to do when I work with clients online, they basically have a journal that they can enter their thoughts and questions. I answer those thoughts and questions and then share my own thoughts and questions. And then I also do a review of their nutrition. So if they're using a nutrition tracking app, I log in on their app. I look at what they ate every day, calories, like all protein, all the numbers, but then also the food choices and the timing of the day, and give them feedback on that. So it's very intensive in the sense of like you really looking at all the details. And that's what I love to do for that type of coaching, because it offers the best benefit. When you can truly get down to, these are the individual foods I ate, these were the amounts, these were the times, and then I can look at that, oh man, I can help you start to identify patterns, identify a bunch of things that could be very easily remedied. So when we have somebody who's all over the place in calories, we want to at first try to say, okay, over the last 7, maybe 14 days, it looks like you had this breakfast 4 or 5 of the days, this breakfast 4 or 5 of the days, then a couple random breakfasts. So let's narrow our options to create some consistency. So maybe the 2 most common breakfasts, we'll aim to have just one of those 2 for the next week or 2. Same thing for lunch, dinner, snacks. We just kind of say, what are the foods you commonly eat? Let's try to narrow down the variety and the randomness of it, so that way we can create some consistency. We can see how the body's responding. You'll feel a lot better. You'll be more confident with what you're doing. And then we can start to do like substitutions or expand the options. So at first we narrow down to a few options per meal, maybe 2 or 3 options per meal. Then we look to expand that out once we have consistency. And that helps us kind of feel like we have control over what's happening. And then we get to expand and experiment, but knowing that we have that control. So it really helps lessen anxiety. It helps ensure that we have progress. Now, the other aspect that people commonly struggle with calories is they're just not hungry. They're too damn busy. They're not paying attention to themselves, and they're just not hungry all the time. Now, that's not good for fat loss. Certainly not good for muscle building or strength building or just general health and like how your body feels, like joint health and mobility and things. We have to have enough calories coming in to do all the repairs and give us all the energy that we want. So one of the things I look at is to try to get in liquid calories. So that focuses on hydration. Typically, if somebody undereats, they also underhydrate. Because they're dehydrated, they often don't get a signal of being hungry because the body's more thirsty than it is hungry. So it prioritizes thirst over hunger. We start with liquid calories. If you want to drink, a protein drink, maybe a Core Power, which has like 26 or 20 some grams of protein in it, but it's fluid, which helps to hydrate. Sometimes I have people mix like a weak amount of Gatorade, so they'll get Gatorade powder and they'll mix that into a drink. It might be like 10, 15 grams of sugar in the drink, but that starts to spike a little bit of hunger that hydrates them. And if they have that drink in the morning, all of a sudden within 30, 40 minutes, they're like, hey, I'm actually kind of hungry. Surprise, surprise. I'm usually never hungry in the morning. But when they have a little bit of sugar, it could be apple juice, orange juice, whatever you want. Sometimes those are a little too concentrated in sugar. So I like to do something that's a little more like one of my clients does a half and half. I think it's half sweet tea, half regular tea or unsweetened tea. You can also do like an Arnold Palmer, which is lemonade and unsweetened iced tea. They'll do combinations, but somehow it's a little bit of a lessened sugar rush than like typical fruit juices are. But that can spark hunger, just being hydrated, getting a little bit of sugars in. And then we also aim to start small. We just want to make small increases. So I don't want them to go from eating, maybe 800 to 1,000 calories a day. If that's what they're doing now, that's certainly not enough. But I'm not going to have them all of a sudden double that. That's just not going to happen. We might say, okay, if you're eating between 600 to 1,000, can we normalize that to maybe 800 to 1,000 for the next week? Then can we go between 900 and 1,100 for the week after that? Then maybe 1,000 to 1,200 for the week after that. So we just do small increases, and that allows them to adjust in small ways to help get in more calories, and it doesn't feel so overwhelming. And then also using nutrient-dense foods. So like a tablespoon of peanut butter, it gives you a lot more calories than eating a celery stick. So maybe we're gonna, if I actually have had a client who snacks on carrots and celery all day, but they undereat. So I said, well, why don't you get like a hummus dip, I don't even know, like different dips they have for like chips and veggies, and then also peanut butter, they can mix in stuff like that. So they started doing a hummus dip, and they said that they enjoyed it. It didn't overly fill them, but it added 300 calories to a day, which is freaking awesome. So it was really beneficial to make small adjustments like that. The next area we look at is protein. Overwhelmingly, the common struggle is people just don't get enough protein. So what would benefit is to know what foods are rich in protein. So all of my clients, I send them food lists, and these foods are more commonly like containing fats. These foods more commonly contain carbs. These foods more commonly contain protein. So I send them that so that way they know it. You're looking at like cottage cheese, egg whites, or whole eggs, but they have fats in it. You have to account for that. Fish, seafood, Greek yogurt, any kind of meat, protein powders, tofu. There's like secondary protein, decent amount of protein in things like beans, nuts, protein bars. They tend to have more carbs than they do protein, but still a decent amount of protein. So those are like secondary sources. But awareness of what foods have protein is usually the biggest component that people need educated on. And then practicing and planning to include those foods more often. And that'll help. So when we look at, and we said like one of the things we look at is to narrow down their options. I might say, hey, you're eating commonly these couple options per, like say, lunch. How about we stay with those options, but let's add a little more of this, or let's substitute this in. And then all of a sudden they have a better idea of how to get their protein in. But that's basically the common struggle is just not enough. It's knowing what foods have protein in them and then planning to include them into your meals. That's really the way to correct that. As for the next component we look at is meal timing or like distribution. The biggest problem people have with meal timing is they don't eat enough during the day, and it's because they don't create the time. There we go. We don't create the time. It's not that we don't have the time. We don't create the time. We don't take the time. We don't set aside the time. We don't prioritize eating. So we have to choose to do that. We have to give ourselves a little bit of time. Now, to make that a little bit easier, we can also get things that are very fast. So quick foods that are pre-made, microwavable, maybe you can cook ahead. So what I do in the mornings, once or twice a week, I'll cook the lunch for Meredith, my wife. And then she has it ready. It's actually not even a microwavable lunch. I just pull it out of the fridge in the morning, and then she has it with her for lunch. She adds a dressing to it. It's like a pasta. It's a protein-based pasta. It's Bonza pasta, so it's really high in protein, and it's made from chickpeas. And then we cut up red peppers, yellow peppers, has shredded carrots, and feta cheese. She then puts this kind of Greek type of salad dressing over top of it, and it's really good because it has tons of protein. It has enough carbs to count as her energy, but it keeps her calories right where she needs for her lunch. Then she also has snacks throughout the day, like an apple if she wants to eat an apple. She has a container of nuts, almonds that she likes, honey roasted almonds. We also have cheese sticks that she'll take with her. Tons of options. There's granola bars by Made Good, which are 100-calorie, really healthy granola bars. She has these gluten-free breakfast ovals. I don't know what company makes that. I forget what company makes that. But we have a lot of like little snacky things that she can use during the day. And then also our breakfast is quick. She has bagel and eggs. Just cook up the eggs in 3 minutes, toast the bagel in 2 minutes, put all that together and you're eating, and the dishes are done in 6 minutes. I've timed it. So I time everything because I want to be able to give it that advice to my clients. But also, I don't have a ton of time either. So, like I'm operating on the same kind of time crunch that everybody else is in regards to what we want to get done with life, but what we need to do to take care of our lives and keep ourselves alive. But knowing how fast things can be made is very helpful. I cook a lot in batches. So like I cooked this morning 3 packages of deboned, deskinned chicken thighs. And I cooked a tube of biscuits, like Pillsbury biscuits. So 2 biscuits is 50 grams of carbs. And then I'll pair with that about 8 ounces of chicken and 8 ounces of chicken thighs. And that's a good meal for me. So if I cook those 3 packages, I think it's like maybe 6 meals. I think it's around 6 meals of meat. And it always depends on how much skin I cut off and how much other stuff I cut off. But it's around 6 meals of chicken. And then the biscuits, it makes 8 biscuits per tube. So that gets me 4 meals. So I just cook all that stuff in batches. I cook it in the morning. The biscuits take 12 minutes while they're cooking. The chicken's cooking. I can get all that prepped, cooked, put away in 20 minutes while I'm also cooking Meredith's breakfast and prepping her lunch. So I'm pretty wicked in the kitchen when I get moving. So I can get a lot done in 30 minutes. But it's planning stuff like that and accounting for it. So I also use that time to listen to an audiobook or a podcast if I want to do that. So I'm usually listening to something that makes me feel like I have more to gain in my personal benefit from that time. And that's also just some time in the morning that I get, to kind of have my alone time and me time. And, it's just time for me to think, time to me to focus on the audiobooks. Like right now, I'm listening to an audiobook about charisma. So about like nonverbal language and body language and whatnot and how to improve that. So it's just really fun to know. I just love learning things. So that's what I'll do is make sure that when I'm cooking and doing those things, it might take me 30 minutes on Monday, but then the next day, everything's already pre-made. I can be in and out of the kitchen in 10 minutes. On Wednesday, everything's already pre-made. I can be in and out of the kitchen in 10 minutes. Then maybe Thursday, I do another 30 minutes of cooking. Friday, super quick. So if you cook in batches, I also do microwavable foods. Like I have microwavable jasmine rice. I have chicken sausages I can microwave as well. So I can microwave that in 2 minutes, eat it in 2 minutes, and be done in 5 minutes total, So quick options, things like that. Like it's just helpful to have all that stuff ready. Greek yogurt, you can have that in a Tupperware or whatever and just scoop that out, pour some granola on it, and boom, there you go. You got some protein and some fats. So it's just knowing that there are quick and easy pre-made options is the way to improve your meal timing, is knowing that, okay, I do have to set aside 5 to 10 minutes to eat. I don't have to set aside 30 minutes. I can do this stuff in 5 to 10 minutes. But I do have to decide to do it in 5 to 10 minutes. So I can't say I want to be healthy and then absolutely change nothing about how I manage my day. That's just dumb. So if you want a change in your health, you have to change your habits. Duh. So you have to be willing to do that. Now, the next thing we look at that people commonly struggle with is carbs and fats. Like understanding, they usually come in saying like, carbs make me fat. And I'm like, oh dear God, sit down. Let me explain this to you. They 100% do not. Or they'll think they have to do keto to lose weight. No, dumb. The person's not dumb. It's just the people who perpetuate that are dumb. So there is no need to be overly restrictive, which is what people commonly think. I have to have no carbs, I have to have no fats. So there's no need to be overly restrictive. You can have either carbs or fats or both. You just have to control your calories. If your calories are in check and your protein is accounting for the proper percentage of your total calories, then you're fine. You can eat carbs, fats, doesn't matter. So if you want to maximize carbs and fat intake for maximal leanness, for maximal body composition, which a lot of my clients who want to grow muscle tissue and get stronger, but they want to stay lean in that process, we usually look to control carb and fat intake. What this means is post-workout, we want to keep their glycogen stores low, and we want to do that to promote fat burning. And we do that until about 1 or 2 meals before their next workout. Depends on the size of the person, depends on the intensity of the workout. And we want to refill our glycogen stores going into the next workout. But keeping a low glycogen level doesn't mean you can't have any carbs. It just means you want to not max out your carb intake between workouts. You want to keep low carb intake in the recovery period after the workout, and then start ramping up your carbs leading into the next workout. And that helps you stay leaner while still building strength and muscle. So it's really cool to know how to track that stuff and kind of twist it around and play with it. The next common struggle is tracking consistency, being consistent with putting your data in your apps, or knowing what your calories are, knowing what your protein is. So if you use an app, just pay for the premium. It's like less than $10 a month. If you don't believe you have $10 a month to do this, I'd argue that you're full of crap, because $10 a month is something, but often we end up wasting $10 a month more on something that we don't need, So you could probably come up with $10 a month if you want to come up with it, if you want this benefit. But use the app, use the premium service. That way you can enter, if you have a common meal, you just enter your normal breakfast, you label it breakfast 1. You enter your second breakfast option, you label it breakfast 2. Then the next day, when you want to enter your foods for breakfast, you don't have to enter every individual food. You just click breakfast 1, done, boom. It takes 3 seconds. And then also, it's just understanding that when you want to enter data, that does take an amount of time. When you're first new to it, it might take 10, 15 minutes. Once you get used to it, it's like 3 to 5. You just have to schedule it. You just do it somewhere in your day. Like when you're going to the bathroom, put your foods in your app. If you're eating lunch, maybe instead of watching TV, you enter your foods in your app while you're eating. You can do it at night before you sit down. If you're like, okay, I'm transitioning from my evening chores, I'm going to go sit on the couch, I'll probably fall asleep. So before I do that, let me take 5 minutes to enter my food. So it's just making a conscious choice to include that as part of your daily routine. You just have to decide to do it. If you miss a day or two here or there, you're not a loser, you didn't fail, the whole world isn't going to burn down. Just pick it right back up the next day, you're fine. So you're going to miss some days here and there, there's going to be some hiccups, but just make it as a normal part of your routine and understand that, again, if I want things to change, I have to change. This is one of my changes. Then the last thing that people commonly struggle with, there's actually a bunch, but the last thing I'm going to talk about today is believing they're eating the right food, quote unquote, what the right foods are. People are way over obsessive over what the best food is. Way over obsessive. It's not really that important. And it often leads to an all or nothing, meaning I have to have the right foods or I'm a failure. I might as well go eat everything in the kitchen. Obviously, that is not productive. Obviously, that is harmful towards our goal. But we all do it. So you have to get out of that mindset. You have to stop doing that. It doesn't really matter what you eat. You track your calories, your protein, make sure they're on track. You try to do the best meal timing you can do. And then from there, you just keep doing it every damn day for a lot of days. It doesn't matter if you eat perfect food. If you're supposed to have brown rice and you're around and all you can find is bread. Oh, dear God, you'll be fine. Just eat the damn bread. You'll be fine. Fine. So the right food is whatever meets your calories, your protein, and your timing. That's what the right food is. Avoid that all or nothing thinking. Now, is it a good idea to eat foods that are relatively low in sugar away from your workouts? Sure. Do you want to eat foods that help you normalize your sodium intake every day? Sure. But if you mess that up, oh well. Just don't mess up calories, protein, and meal timing as much as you can. So it's not the right food as in what's best food for health or, blah, 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 blah. All it is just whatever food is going to get me to my calories, my protein, and my meal timing for the day. If you can get that, you're fine. Just do it for a lot of days in a row, and I promise you'll see results. Okay, so this was some common client struggles, the general mindset and thoughts we have to address these. If you want to reach out for nutrition coaching, right now we offer nutrition coaching for $100 a month. That's very cheap, by the way, for what I do. Since I'm in the industry, I can tell you that. $100 a month, and I'll check in with you every single week. I'll tell you, every single day whether your food was good, not good, what we could adjust, and I'll answer all your questions. So it's a ridiculously easy, good service for the cost. So $100 a month, and it's available. You can learn more about it on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. You can also just email me at brutalirongym@gmail.com. Tell me you're interested or tell me you want to do it, and then I'll send you some information to get us started. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for listening. If you like today's podcast or the podcast in general, please share it. The more people we share the podcast with, the more people it can help. If you share it on social media, that's great. If you share it in a conversation with somebody, if you know they have questions about nutrition and training, that's great. Just share it. The more people that know about it, the more people can be helped by it. Thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. The podcast is well over $1,000 a year for hosting costs. I give an hour to it every day, and I want to keep them for free. So thank you to those who donate. Even just a small donation, like $5 a month, it does add up, and it does go a long way. So thank you very much. You can donate at our website at www.brutalirongym.com. If you like the information in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything that you want to know, let us know at our email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.